The film opens in a Spanish detention center located in the province of Zamora, where a new guard is being introduced to the prison environment. His name is Juan Oliver, and he is set to officially start his duty the next day. A senior officer named Armando then explains the rules of the prison, saying that all dangerous items must be confiscated and that they have planted a spy among the inmates. Before leaving, Armando reminds Juan to always stay alert. Suddenly, a piece of concrete from the upper floor falls on them. Another guard comes to make sure they are all right, but Juan's head is bleeding, and he must be carried away immediately. Was this accident merely a coincidence? A few minutes earlier, a prison boss who was about to be transferred approached the gate. As the guard handcuffed him, the sound of the accident that struck Juan was heard. The inmate then used the chance to free himself from the handcuffs. When the guard returned, the inmate strangled him to death. Meanwhile, Juan is laid down inside a cell while waiting for the doctor to arrive. However, the prison complex has already been taken over by the inmates. Armando is forced to leave him behind as Juan faints. Realizing that a riot has broken out, an older guard named Utrilla orders all gates to be locked. They must find the prison boss because he is surely the mastermind behind it all. Moments later, Juan wakes up after being slapped by an inmate. Confused, he is ordered to stay silent as the cell door is locked from the outside. The inmate then goes to report to the prison boss. Alone inside the cell, Juan realizes that he is trapped in the chaos. He quickly gets rid of anything that might reveal he is a guard. Meanwhile, Armando and the prison warden, named Jose, still do not know what to do. Juan will be killed if they do not rescue him soon. Therefore, Utrilla insists that they should enter using weapons, but Jose worries that the inmates will seize them instead. Not long after, Juan is brought before the leader of the inmates. They go to the lower floor, passing through rioting prisoners. The leader, named Malamadra, asks for his identity. Juan claims to be a new inmate charged with murder and drug crimes. His head is bleeding because he was beaten by guards. While laughing, Malamadra orders him to strip. Having no other choice, Juan obeys despite his embarrassment. The humiliation makes him think of his beloved wife, who is pregnant and cannot be left alone for too long. After putting his clothes back on, Juan notices that every camera is being destroyed, so he tries to stop them. He says that one CCTV camera should be kept to negotiate with the authorities. Fortunately, Malamadra agrees and praises his clever idea. Juan then covers the remaining camera with a black cloth. Seeing the situation, Armando becomes astonished because Juan has managed to deceive the inmates. For now, he will remain safe as long as his secret is not exposed. Moments later, Malamadra takes Juan to meet his hostage, a guard who has been handcuffed and rendered helpless. Juan secretly recognizes him but cannot do anything. The prison boss then calls one of his men who had once been beaten by that guard. He leaves the two of them alone to settle their score. Meanwhile outside, police units have arrived and immediately begin setting up a perimeter. But Armando explains that the special prisoners have not been transferred yet. They are 3 members of a dangerous separatist organization that is still active to this day. If any of them were to die, their group would surely retaliate. As expected, the 3 prisoners are soon brought before Malamadra as hostages. Because of that, the prison officials no longer dare to start the assault recklessly. Amid the confusion, a presidential envoy arrives. His name is Ernesto, and he will act as the negotiator with the inmates. In the main hall, the prison boss shouts loudly that they will finally get justice, because the government will not let the 3 hostages die to avoid retaliation from the separatist group. After analyzing the situation, Ernesto points out that the 3 prisoners were being transferred on the same day the riot broke out. This means someone must have leaked information about their transfer. Utrilla then says that he will find out by meeting with one of the inmates. On the lower floor, Malamadra orders Juan to write down the inmates' demands for the prison authorities. They ask that family visits be allowed every 2 weeks and that a qualified doctor be provided to treat the prisoners. While writing, Malamadra starts asking Juan more personal questions to learn about him. Juan answers honestly, saying that his wife is about to give birth. The prison boss feels pity for him upon hearing this. Using a walkie-talkie, Ernesto then contacts the prison boss to begin negotiating. Malamadra tells him to come inside and talk face to face. The negotiator agrees, on the condition that the cameras must remain on. Through the CCTV, the prison leaders can see Malamadra and Juan waiting calmly. Meanwhile, the other inmates are being guarded by Tachula, his right-hand man, who is accompanied by another strong prisoner named Apache. Apache asks Tachula whether Juan can be trusted. Tachula simply replies that he is the only educated man among them. A moment later, the negotiator finally arrives. The prison boss then hands him a paper containing their demands. Ernesto promises that he will deliver those demands to the ministry. Before leaving, Malamadra orders food to be brought in and allows Juan to call his wife. Ernesto agrees and asks Juan to come with him. Juan feels overjoyed, thinking he will finally be free from the prison. But suddenly, a scream is heard, and Malamadra instantly becomes alert. He takes Ernesto hostage and orders Juan to check what happened. Inside the complex, Juan finds the inmates in chaos because a murder has taken place. The guards, believing the victim is one of the hostages, order a full assault. The police units immediately move toward the rooftop. In panic, Juan pleads for the hostages to be shown right away. Fortunately, his quick thinking works, and the operation is cancelled. His success makes him a hero among the inmates. Yet he quickly raises Malamadra's hand to show there is no misunderstanding. On television, a news presenter reports that the riot in Zamora has spread to several other prisons. Fellow inmates from the same separatist group are rebelling because their comrades have been taken hostage. Meanwhile, at the prison hospital, Utrilla is torturing an inmate patient. He demands to know who leaked the information about the special prisoners. Unable to endure the pain, the inmate finally mentions a name, revealing it to be the prison barber. Armando, who witnesses everything, scolds Utrilla for violating prison protocol. Moments later, Armando contacts Juan's wife, Elena. He is forced to lie, saying that her husband is doing fine. But Elena refuses to believe him since she has already seen the news. Once she gets into her car, she can do nothing but cry in despair. As a gesture of friendship, Malamadra brings food for the hostages. Unfortunately, his offering is harshly rejected. They even threaten that their organization will surely take revenge. But Malamadra is not afraid and will not hesitate to kill anyone he wants. As requested, the guards have sent plenty of food for the inmates. When Malamadra sees one of the prisoners approaching, he walks over with a plate full of shrimp. The man turns out to be the troublemaker who caused chaos during the negotiation. Malamadra loses his temper, and the entire crowd falls silent. Seeing the walkie-talkie left behind, Juan quietly takes it and sneaks into his cell. He contacts the prison leaders and asks about their plan to rescue him from the chaos. Unfortunately, Ernesto only says that their main priority now is the safety of the hostages. Meanwhile, in the corridor, the inmates gather to listen to the news. Their uprising has sparked riots in other prisons, and the separatist organization has even tried to attack the prime minister with a car bomb in retaliation for their captured members. Outside the prison gates, a massive protest has erupted, led by the families of the inmates. Moments later, Malamadra realizes that his walkie-talkie is missing. Luckily, Juan returns it right away, pretending he just found it. From a distance, Apache notices Juan's suspicious behavior and quickly picks up a phone. He contacts the guards, revealing that he is actually the spy planted among the inmates. When he enters the barber shop, Armando is shocked to see the barber's face covered in bruises. The barber then explains that it was Utrilla himself who had leaked the secret while getting his haircut, and that Malamadra overheard the conversation by accident. While Armando reports this to Ernesto, the television broadcasts news about another fatality in a different prison. A guard has been killed in a riot, further worsening the situation. Hearing this, Utrilla remains silent and says nothing. Meanwhile, Apache threatens Juan for his suspicious behavior. He warns that Malamadra could find out at any moment unless Juan makes a deal with him. At the prison gate, the families of the inmates demand transparency from the authorities. Among the crowd, Elena also arrives to check on her husband's condition. However, the police attempt to disperse the crowd, causing a violent clash between them. Utrilla and his men join the officers and begin pushing the protesters back. From the live television broadcast, the inmates watch the chaos unfolding outside. One suddenly recognizes his wife in the crowd. Elena appears to be in pain, trapped among the uncontrollable mob. Panicking, Juan asks Malamadra for the walkie-talkie and pleads with Ernesto to save his wife. But the television signal is then cut, leaving Juan unable to monitor what happens next. Outside, the police continue beating the demonstrators mercilessly. Struck by a baton, Elena collapses and loses consciousness.
¿Pero qué cojones estáis haciendo, joder?
Moments later, Malamadra demands that Ernesto report the names of the victims. He gives him 30 minutes to find out who was injured and who died. Out of pity, the prison boss hands the walkie-talkie to Juan. Overcome with worry, Juan begs to see his wife. Ernesto agrees to take him to the hospital that night, but Malamadra apologizes, saying that no one can leave for now. Back in his cell, Juan tries to find a radio signal but fails. Apache appears again and threatens to report him once more. But Juan tells him that he knows the identity of the spy inside the prison. Shocked by his words, Apache freezes in fear. Juan then offers him a deal to keep his secret safe, saying that Apache must find out what happened to his wife. Because of Utrilla's repeated recklessness, Jose decides to suspend him temporarily. His brutality toward the protesters has now been exposed by the media, damaging the prison's reputation. While waiting, Malamadra promises Juan that he will help him regain his freedom soon, so his wife and child will not lose the person they need most. Moments later, Tachula arrives carrying a list of victims containing only 4 names. Feeling deceived by Ernesto, Malamadra grows furious. Soon after, the riot flares up again. Overcome with rage, Malamadra drags a hostage out to execute him. Seeing this, Juan tries to intervene, knowing that the police will launch an assault immediately if someone is killed. He suggests that cutting off the hostage's ear would be enough as a warning. In the end, Juan is forced to become the executioner of his own suggestion. While washing his hands, Juan is called to meet the prison boss. There, Malamadra is already waiting with a tense expression, surrounded by his men. Juan is told that 20 protesters have been injured, and one of the most critical victims is his wife. Apache then shows him a video of the incident taken from the news, revealing that the attacker was the old guard, Utrilla. At the prison gate, the suspended Utrilla tries to leave but is immediately stopped. Ernesto tells him that Malamadra has requested for the negotiator to be replaced by him. When they meet face to face, the prison boss points a knife at him and forces him down the stairs. The guards panic, but none of them dare to intervene. On the lower floor, Utrilla is pushed through the crowd of inmates and brought before Juan, who is waiting impatiently. After showing him the footage of the beating, Juan can no longer hold back his anger. But Malamadra quickly steps in to calm him down. He then tells Juan to contact the prison authorities with Utrilla's life as leverage. Fuming with rage, Juan demands to speak to his wife on the phone. But Armando explains that Elena is under anesthesia and unable to talk. Juan immediately senses the lie and realizes something terrible must have happened to her. Armando can only apologize for the tragedy, revealing that Elena has died in the hospital along with their baby. Malamadra hugs the weeping Juan and signals to the other inmates. Not wanting to be beaten to death, Utrilla suddenly shouts that Juan is actually a prison guard. Without hesitation, Juan steps forward and kills him instantly. After crying all night, the despairing Juan tries to hang himself by the window. Fortunately, the attempt fails, and he falls to the floor in tears. At that moment, he notices writing on the wall left by a former inmate, saying that he died in pain because he was never treated by the prison staff. The words make Juan realize that Elena's death must not be in vain. He must rise against the injustice committed by the state. Meanwhile, Utrilla's final words spark a debate between Malamadra and Tachula. The prison boss defends Juan, saying he showed true courage by killing the old guard. Soon after, they are visited by a new negotiator sent directly from the presidential palace. As they begin to talk, Juan suddenly enters the room carrying Utrilla's corpse. With firm resolve, he declares that the 3 hostages will die just like the old guard unless their demands are met. The negotiator, overwhelmed by fear, promises to fulfill their requests. However, Juan, disgusted by all the lies, refuses to trust him easily. He knows the government could easily break its promises. Therefore, he demands that the agreement be announced publicly on national television. He gives them 1 hour until the media reports it. Malamadra supports him, and so do all the inmates. In a private talk, Malamadra, feeling that his authority had been undermined, scolds Juan. He says that Juan's demands could drag all the inmates into a battle against the police. But Juan insists that Malamadra will surely win because the government is terrified. This is their only chance to demand justice. Not long after, Ernesto contacts Malamadra and says he has something for him. The prison boss goes to a hallway as instructed. There, he finds a folder revealing Juan's true identity. But Malamadra says he does not believe it. Having no other choice, Ernesto offers him a deal. Malamadra will be released in less than a year if he kills Juan. While waiting for the government's announcement, Tachula once again tries to convince his boss that Juan only acts for his own benefit. Apache adds that the government will never admit defeat on national media. Yet Malamadra stands firm, saying he will stick to the plan. If their demands are not met, the hostages will die and a battle will erupt inside the prison. To prepare, Apache and the other inmates head to the warehouse, gathering materials to build homemade guns. With only 10 minutes left, there is still no sign of an announcement from the media. As Juan waits, Malamadra visits him in his cell. The prison boss shares a cigarette and expresses his admiration. Even though Juan lied about his identity, his courage is undeniable. Malamadra then hands him a knife, inviting him to fight together for the prisoner's rights. Unbeknownst to them, Ernesto has already received information from his informant. The police units immediately prepare to rescue the 3 hostages. Moments later, the television finally broadcasts the government's official statement, announcing that it will meet the demands of the inmates in Zamora. Juan and Malamadra exchange proud looks. But just as they begin to celebrate, Apache suddenly attacks the inmates guarding the hostages. At the same time, dozens of smoke bombs are fired by the police forces. In the chaos, Juan tells Malamadra to kill the hostages now. They both rush through the crowd, but Apache spots them and attacks. Juan is shot and falls, gravely wounded. With tears in his eyes, Malamadra begs Juan to hold on. But he too is attacked, his vision blurring. Filled with rage, Malamadra struggles to his feet, trying to avenge his friend. Yet Apache shoots him again, and he collapses to the floor. In his fading consciousness, Juan sees the police storming in from the roof. Moments later, the police have rescued the hostages and subdued the inmates. Armando, inspecting the aftermath, finds Juan's body among the dead. Malamadra, still alive, is carried out on a stretcher to receive immediate treatment. He will surely seek revenge against the traitor who murdered his friend.